Hello, I'm Chris, this is Gross Models, and this is going to be a short build of the Y-Wing Starfighter, 1/4 scale by Bandai. As with all of these, it's got the instructions on the inside of the box. One bag of bits. Let's just have a quick look and see what we've got. Right, as with most of these, there's a sticker sheet rather than decals, but whether I use those or mask and paint, I'll probably paint the yellow, but the other bits with more detail on it, I'll probably use the stickers. Put those back in the box. You've got the stand, standard with these. Right, there's 4 sprues. What do we have? The main cockpit section, canopy there. Again, all of these always have lots of lovely detail work on these. That's going to take some weathering quite nicely on those. And we've got 2 identical sprues for the I want to say nacelles, but that's Star Trek. The engine bays, obviously both the same, but flipped. They are actually labelled differently, A1 and A2. So what have we got that's different? Of course, the slit is going to be on the opposite side, so they're basically mirrored. Right, not lots of nasty tubes. I was expecting more. There's some on these, again very fine, but not too much to worry about on any of those. Right, well, that's opening the box. Again, as I say, it won't be a long build, this, hopefully. There's only, let's say, a dozen parts. Yeah, the yellow sticker just goes on the front there. The other bits around the fronts of the engines. I'll see how it goes. The stickers on these are obviously not as nice as decals, but they're generally not too bad. Right, so I'll get some of it off the sprues and start building, and then you can catch up with me down the line. See you in a moment. And that's the pieces all taken off the sprue and denubbed. The cockpit itself goes together lovely. Most of these can be built as a sort of sub-assembly before painting. I think that's the way I'm going to do it anyway. The cockpit itself goes on the top there, obviously with the gun on the top there as well. Those bits I will be leaving separate and doing separately. The cockpit, I'm still not sure if I'm going to be using this sticker or painting, so I'll put that to one side at the moment. The main body has lots of tiny detail on it, which I'll zoom in and show you once I get it assembled. It always astounds me the amount of detail that they put into these kits. Bandai do an amazing job with the detail work, considering the few number of parts that you use in these kits. The way they go together without any glue for the most part, it's just astounding. Get these on the right sides. There we go. So that's the body of it. As you can see, there's just an insane amount of detail in there. The few tiny sort of seam lines between the bits, really not even worrying about. This is obviously going to be painted and then gunked up, so that will cover everything. Obviously So that goes on the front there with the cockpit on it. So there's not much to the actual body of the ship. The engines, again, the interior bit will need to be painted separately, but I'll just pop it together now just to give the idea of how it all will go together and look. So that goes on only one way round. There's two with little cutouts and two without, so again you can have it either way, 180 degrees out, it doesn't make any difference on that particular bit. That's that one, and the other one exactly the same. If I can get the right bit, or I had the right bit. Somewhere in there, it should fit. Ah, there it is. I wasn't looking far enough in. There you go. They are slightly different, the shaping on the ends, so obviously you can only get those on one way around as well. And also that to be cut off one of two ways around. These bits obviously will be glued on, otherwise they're going to fly off with the slightest provocation. Right, which way round do the engines go? They are different, the one's bigger than the other, so that's that one, and that is that one. So that's the kit, except for the gun. There you go, why not? Let's get that on there as well temporarily. That's that. It's quite a good size. Let's grab down the X-Wing for scale. It's a little bit bigger. Obviously the cockpit itself is much the same size. All in all, I'm happy with that, except I haven't got something right there. One of those is the other way around to the other. That's interesting. Because that has actually got three cutouts on that one, and one that isn't instead of two. So there's the one that isn't, and that's that way around. So that means that's probably the wrong way around as well. Yes, there's three cutouts on that, and one that isn't, not four. I thought it was 2 and 2, but it's not. So there's the one that isn't, which is there. Right, so there you go. Both of those lined up now as well. So yes, I'll take the engines back, take the centerpiece out, and to get that painted more easily. All of this needs obviously painting, priming, and painting back to a light grey. Then the detail work, there's a R2 unit, R2, one of the R series droids, and then washing and dirtying out all of that. So I'll get that primed and then be back with you. Right, it's all primed. I did put the stickers onto the cockpit, but it didn't cover the gun bit, which would have to be painted grey anyway, and to get it all to match I'm just going to paint it all. So I need to re-prime that where the stickers have peeled off some of the primer. I've also put together the engine bit because they all do need to be the normal grey colour. So what I need to do now is get these end caps attached. So what I've done, get rid of the stickers, stick everywhere, is basically just scratch away some of the primer where it's going to come in contact with these end pieces. They go on basically just like that. So as I found out when I was putting it together, one of these is different. There we go, that's that one, that's a solid piece, and one of these is a solid piece. So it goes on that way round, just like that. So I'm going to get both of those put together the right way round. There's the solid piece and there's the solid piece. There you go. Now just getting these jammed in place to begin with, just wedged in, and then good old extra thin, just by touching that to each one, the glue will seep in and sit where it needs to be. I'll need to touch up the priming again on the ends of these anyway. That one isn't quite right. There you go. Should be enough. It probably would have been enough without gluing, but very few little bits of these do need some attention. So that's the main priming done. The black really helps bring out all the detail on these. There's so much work involved in those, it's amazing. So I need to do some light grey on all of this, which I'm going to be using light grey and white. I'll mix up a custom blend and get everything painted in that. Whether I put, I need to reprime first, then mask off the windows, then I'll get that installed onto the main cockpit assembly. Then I think get that. No, I'll paint them separate because it's easier to hold them separate, because I can actually grip that on the bits that, like that. I can hold it on the bits that go together when I'm done. Let's zoom back out again so you can actually see what I'm doing. Yeah, then I can put those back on there as well. That's again not a problem. Right, so repriming and then painting. Repriming, masking, then painting. That's the first thing to do, and then we'll see. I'm still torn about the stickers around there. The grey is not going to match, so I'll probably end up painting that and forgetting about the little dots, the detail on there. I'm not sure about 7 and 8. They're long grey things. I'll look up where they go and decide what I'm going to do with it. Let's have a look now. 7 and 8. Oh, right, they're on the sides there. So they're obviously just a darker grey, as are those. So I may or may not use those, but I might just use a darker grey. I'll see how it is. The problem with painting these is it's inside. Lots of detail, so I don't want to use stickers on it because it's going to look rubbish. Right, I've decided. Painting is the way to go. Forget the stickers. Masking and painting, which is always fun on such a small scale. So, right, masking, repriming, masking, then painting in the base coat, and then going from there. So, I'll catch you up in a bit. Right, that's got all the very light grey done on everything. Still some shadows in there, which is exactly what I was going for. The next step, I've done some masking. Yeah, you can just about see that. Just the bits in the middle there, which then have these caps over, which I need to mask and do a yellow band around the inside there. And I've masked off the tiny windows, which are staying black. So I need to get a darker grey on that and those. Right, that's ready. Just going to be using the light grey, which without the white in it makes it a darker grey. So I'll get that done. See you in a moment. Right, that's the light grey to make it darker. Done on those. I'll let that dry before I take the masking off. It doesn't look any real difference, but when you see it next to the lighter, it does look quite good. So that will be about the effect I'm looking for. The gun I need to do in, it looks to be mainly this colour, but I'm going to do some dry brushing of metallics on there. Then mask these and do the yellow highlights, which I also need to do onto the main body. I need to get these curves right, which look to be the panel lines, so it should be easy enough to mask up. So I'll show you that in a moment. Right, mini update. I've masked the tops, so I need to get those painted yellow. I've just about to remove the masking from this, so I thought you might like to see it and be surprised as I am if it turns out nice or not. So let's get rid of that without breaking anything. Let's see. Hopefully this will turn out better than using the stickers. That's that. Let's get the tiny bits off. There we go. I'm quite happy with that. Yeah, the paint seems to be a little bit blobby, but it's got where I want it to get. When that's got the cap on the other side, I'm sure that will look fine. Yeah, no, the paint looks fine. Yeah, I'm happy with that. Right, so that's that. So I need to do those yellows. I haven't done the masking on the big bit yet. So you'll need to get this curve right on both the front and the back. I think I did consider using the sticker as a template, but I don't think that's going to work very well. The stickers are never quite as accurate as I would like, so I think I'm just going to take a piece of tape and basically freehand the edge and then try it up against and trim and shape as I need to. For the outside curve I can obviously use multiple pieces to go around the edge, but to do the inside obviously it needs to be the right shape. So I'll get that done and then show you it after it's painted. And that's the yellow done. I went with a darker yellow ochre instead of a bright yellow, because it is meant to be more of a sort of gold colour rather than a yellow. So I'm going to let that dry. I've done the cap pieces as well. Let that dry and get the masking off. Now the original model, the yellow bits don't join up, and there is a darker grey strip down the middle, which is what these long stickers are. But I'm not going for a screen accurate miniature, it's more of something that's going to look right, and I think having them join up around into one piece will look better. I may still add a darker line depending on how it goes together afterwards, but that should be pretty much it for the painting. This is the lighter bit with the darker grey on the top and that. Finish off the gun, and obviously some detail work in the exposed panels, possibly even adding a bit of red glow to the engines inside. But that's pretty much it for the painting, certainly the major painting. So I'll let that dry, get the masking off, and then hopefully get it together. I did take the masking off of the cockpit, which came out very well. A couple of the lines aren't quite right, a little bit of touching up on those, but I'm pleased with that after all. So I've got that, the two engine base pods, the gun, and the main body. So all the parts basically painted, ready to be assembled, and then detail work done on them. I'm happy with it actually. It's come out nicer than I expected. Well, pending how that masking comes off, but I like the colour. I think it would go well with the darker and the lighter grey. So yeah, I'm happy with that. So I'll get it assembled and then get on with the detail work. And that's the build complete. Painting done. I'm happy with it. It needs a bit of attention and obviously weathering. It's far too clean at the moment. So I've not gone screen accurate. The gold on the screen doesn't join up for some reason. It's got a darker grey stripe across it somewhere, but I'm not worrying about that. I'm happy. Looks good. Still needs detail, obviously, especially the droid needs work and general weathering and darkening. I have given it a matte coat, but so a little bit of touching up to do. Actually, pretty sure that should be a black window at the back there with the dark grey around it, so I need to do some touch up on that. So I'll get the little bits done, and then get some weathering done. Right, that's back in and got some detail in. The droid, let's zoom in so you can see properly. There you go. Put some colour on the droid, silver and red, and some highlights on some of the pipes. Some of the red in the back of the engines, and a little bit more detail work underneath, just some coppering on the pipes. So all in all, and the back window blacked in and did the light grey around the edge. So all in all, I'm quite happy with that now. That's ready for weathering, which is just going to be basically dirtying it all up. I'm not sure about any blaster marks and scorch marks and things on these. Being the small scale, they don't really show up too well, so I'll see what it looks like after I've dirtied it down. I need to get some fading in, some darkness on the backs of the engines and around the shadows of the sort of torpedo bays or whatever they are under there. So yeah, happy with the paintwork. Now it's on for the final stage of weathering. Right, almost calling it done. What I've done is give it some Starship wash and then some metal slag, which is the powder pigment, which you can just about see is there. What I've done with that is loaded up a brush with it. I put it in a couple of spots, just sort of blobbed it on and then blown it backwards, and it gives a fairly convincing blaster mark. I've also added it in a few patches across the body as well. I've also added some citazelle non-oil, which I just need to add a few more bits for. Again, this is just showing where grime and dirt would accumulate. A bit bit too heavy on that. Just in the insides of the engines. Hopefully you can still see what I'm doing with that. That inside there, a little bit heavy on some of that, so I'm just going to use some thinners to get rid of that. As I had done a matte coat over it, it does let me play around for a little bit and get rid of some patches and spread them out and move it around a bit. Wide wings are traditionally pretty dirty though, so whatever you do with it isn't going to be too bad. That's better. Spread that out a little bit. I'm just going to add a little bit more around and then that will be done. I'll give it a final matte coat and then I'll be calling that finished. I'm happy with it. I hope you've enjoyed watching, but so once I've finished everything off, I'll talk over the spinny display piece. So that'll be the next thing you see, hopefully, in a couple of seconds. And there we have the completed model. I'm happy with the way it's come out. It's good, I like it. It's one of the dirtiest kits that I've made as it ended up, but so Y wings are traditionally dirty, so I'm happy with that. The back with damage looks convincing enough. It's not over the top, but it's just enough. And I like the way the engines have come out with the slight discoloration. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed the build. Sorry you didn't see much of the actual building, but with these small kits you've got to get in very close to be able to do anything with it, and it's difficult to film up that close as well. So hopefully you've got enough from the updates and pictures that I've been posting as well. As always, if you like it, subscribe. There'll be more coming up soon. All in all, I hope you've enjoyed watching as much as I've enjoyed building it. Thanks again.